Welcome back. This is your assignment 3 pre-recorded lecture. So in this lecture, we're going to talk about child growth and development in middle and late childhood. So middle childhood, slow, steady growth occurs until the onset of puberty, which occurs late in middle childhood or in early adolescence. Children gain an average of 7 pounds in weight and 2.5 inches in height per year. They have growth spurts, which are usually accompanied by an increase in appetite and food intake. Conversely, a child's appetite and food intake decrease during periods of slower growth. Body composition and body shape remain relatively constant during middle childhood. During pre-adolescence and early adolescence, roughly between 9 to 11 years in girls and 10 to 12 years in boys, the percentage of body fat increases in preparation for the growth spurt that occurs during adolescence. This body fat increase occurs earlier in girls than in boys, and the amount of increase is greater in girls. Pre-adolescent, especially girls, may appear to be chunky, but this is part of normal growth and development. During middle childhood, boys have more lean body mass per inch of height than girls. These differences in body composition become more significant during adolescence. During middle childhood, children's muscle strength, motor skills, and stamina increase. Children acquire the motor skills necessary to perform complex movements, allowing them to participate in a variety of physical activities. A temporary decline in coordination and balance may occur during puberty because of rapid growth. Some children may be unable to perform a physical activity as well as they did the previous year. Early maturing boys have a temporary physical advantage over other boys their age because they are taller, heavier, and stronger. These boys usually achieve the most success in physical activity programs like hockey, soccer, football, which may lead to unrealistic expectations that they will continue to be outstanding athletes. Conversely, late maturing boys have a temporary physical disadvantage. These boys may achieve the most success in physical activities in which size is not important, such as racket sports, martial arts, running, wrestling, etc. So let's go on to the second slide. So what is critical and creative thinking? So many of the curriculums from K to 12 now focus on creativity and critical thinking as a component of progress. So critical thinking goes beyond memorization, encouraging learners to connect the dots between concepts, solve problems, think creatively, and apply knowledge in new ways. Despite myths that critical thinking skills are only applicable to subjects like science and math, the reality is that these skills, which are based on the evaluation and application of knowledge, are not only vital for success in all areas, but everyday life as well. So creative thinking. Creative thinking involves the generation of ideas and concepts that are novel and innovative in the context in which they are generated. Reflection on their value to the learner or others, and the development of chosen ideas and concepts from thoughts to reality. So on the slide, Ken Robinson describes the 12 benefits of creativity. If you have a moment, I would encourage you to go to YouTube and listen to Ken Robinson. He is not only funny, but his thinking around educating children is powerful. So let's take a look at what he considers the 12 benefits of creativity. So number 1, creativity is multidisciplinary, as I mentioned before. 2, creativity allows you to express yourself. Number 3, creativity promotes thinking. 4, reduces stress and anxiety. 5, allows you to enter your happy zone and have fun. 6, gives you a sense of purpose. 7, leads to feelings of accomplishment and pride. 8, can link you to others with the same passion. 9, improves your ability to focus. 10, promotes risk-taking and iteration. 11, is a prerequisite for innovation. 12, encourages us to be lifelong learners. And Ken Robinson says that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status. And I would even go a step further and say that it all starts as youngsters. From the time children are born, that is the time that we need to have this mindset. So people who think creativity are curious and people who think creativity, people who are creative are curious and open-minded, and they have a sense of wonder and joy in learning, demonstrate a willingness to think divergently, and are comfortable with complexity are absolutely correct. A creative thinker reflects on existing ideas and concepts, uses imagination, inventiveness, resourcefulness, and flexibility, and is willing to take risks to go beyond existing knowledge. So how can a teacher develop a child's creativity? So like I said, I think it begins right at day one when a child is born until the time that we pass, we can increase our ability to be creative. And reading is always at the top of the list because it is one of the best gifts that you can give a child. There are so many benefits of reading to a child. It will develop their language, vocabulary, problem-solving skills, imagination, emotional intelligence, and many, many more things. Number 2, always make time and encourage creative art, not paper art. Art is a great place to start when stimulating creativity. All children are drawn toward creating their own artwork. There are so many materials to choose from. Keep the activities varied and allow time for art that focuses on the process every day rather than the final product. Focus on the process. So kids can draw with wax crayons, pencils, pens, chalk. They can paint, finger paint, bubble paint with brushes and sponges. They can cut, tear, paste, and collage. The only requirement when working on building actual creativity is to allow the art to be free. Don't tell the child exactly what the end product will be each time. Let them come up with their own creation. Encourage construction. That's number 3. Construction is one of my favorite activities and one I always made time for in my classroom. There are 2 types specifically that I would recommend. So box construction, that is, things that you buy like Lego and duplex, and construction with blocks and toys and pillows and whatever else you have in the center. Box construction involves creating things also out of waste materials and glue and tape. I have seen some of the most incredible structures being built by some very, very tiny people. It's amazing what they will do when they have to try and figure out how to make the wings of the plane stay on or how to add a ramp for a car to slide down. Number 4, remember, don't solve all their problems. One of the best ways to encourage creativity in toddlers and preschoolers is to allow them to solve their own problems when possible. By intervening too quickly, you may get a quick fix to the problem, but the child has learned no skills. They haven't found a way to fix the issue or solve it creatively. Try not to become a child's default solution to any problem. This is, of course, it's not going to be easy because that's how we see ourselves sometimes. But we need to develop independence so they can think for themselves and come up with solutions frequently. We need to, most importantly, encourage free play. Play is a very serious business. It is the way children learn everything and anything, especially creative. If a child is not spending time playing every day, they are extremely missing out on opportunities to grow and learn and be creative and to critical think. Let's go on to the other slide. And before I leave, I want to encourage you to go onto Google and watch one of Ken Robinson's very moving videos. So on the third slide, we're looking at executive function. Executive function and self-regulation skills are the mental processes that enable us to plan, focus attention, remember instructions, and juggle multiple tasks successfully. And this begins for toddlers and preschoolers. Just as an air traffic control system at a busy airport safely manages the arrivals and departures of many aircraft on multiple runways, the brain needs the skill set to filter distractions, prioritize tasks, set and achieve goals, and control impulses. When children have opportunities to develop executive function and self-regulation skills, children and society experience lifelong benefits. These skills are crucial for learning and development. They also enable positive behavior and allow us to make healthy choices for ourselves and our families. Executive function and self-regulation skills depend on three types of brain function: working memory, mental flexibility, and self-control. These functions are highly interrelated, and the successful application of executive function skills requires them to operate in coordination with each other. Each type of executive function skill draw on elements of each other. So working memory governs our ability to retain and manipulate distinct pieces of information over short periods of time. Mental flexibility helps us to sustain or shift attention in response to different demands or to apply different rules in different settings. Self-control enables us to set priorities and resist impulsive actions or responses. Children are not born with these skills. They are born with the potential to develop them. Some children may need more support than others to develop these skills. In other situations, if children do not get what they need from their relationships with adults and the conditions of their environment, or worse, if those influences are sources of toxic stress, their skill development can be seriously delayed or impaired. Adverse environments resulting from neglect, abuse, and/or violence may expose children to toxic stress, which can disrupt brain architecture and impair the development of executive function. So providing the support that children need to build these skills at home, in early care and education programs, and in other settings they experience regularly is one of society's most important responsibilities. So let's take a look at this slide and look at all the different components of executive functioning. So response inhibition, working memory, emotional control, sustained attention, task initiation, planning and prioritizing, organization, time management, goal-directed persistence, flexibility, shifting focus, and metacognition. Metacognition is being able to think about your thinking. So, for example, things like reflecting on what you're doing or what's happening next. Growth promoting environments provide children with scaffolding. When we talked about that scaffolding in the last pre-recorded PowerPoint. So growth promoting environments provide children with scaffolding that helps them practice necessary skills before they must perform them alone. So you as the teacher can facilitate the development of a child's executive function skills by establishing routines, modeling social behavior, and creating and maintaining supportive, reliable relationships. It is also important for children to exercise their developing skills through activities that foster creative play and social connections, teach them how to cope with stress, involve vigorous exercise, and over time provide opportunities for directing their own actions with decreasing adult supervision. Executive functions are the essential self-regulating skills that we use every day to accomplish just about everything. They help children plan, organize, make decisions, shift between situations or thoughts, control our emotions and impulsivity, and learn from past mistakes. Okay, so children rely on their executive functions for everything from taking a crayon out of the container and returning it to packing a backpack and deciding on what task they are doing next. So what is the role of the teacher? Teachers must support children in developing executive functioning. Very few children, like I mentioned before, are born with all executive functions. There are many simple tools that can be used in a setting, in a childcare setting, to support children. So remember, though, that each learner, each child may require you to explain and model the use of each tool over and over again until they get it. I mean, it could be that developmentally they're not ready or physically they're not ready, but starting to support children in this area is very important. So what can you do? If a child is moving really slowly, you can use a timer. A timer can be used to help children in a variety of ways. It can be used to help a child initiate or finish an activity. A timer can also help them keep pace and prepare a child for transitions. Transitions between activities and tasks are difficult for many children, especially when they're younger. So whether it's on a wall or on a table or on a counter, timers are an especially useful tool to assist children in monitoring their performance. And also a timer allows a child to be prepared to get ready for the transition so that there is no outburst of emotions when they do transition. Class calendar, a calendar gives us the ability to predict an event. So if you create a calendar for the day or month, it gives children an opportunity to both physically and mentally prepare in anticipation. In doing so, children are better able to transition from one activity to another and pre-plan. Storage caddies. Children need one place to keep their supplies, whether it is a box or a caddy or a pencil case or a container. Not only does this help a child transition between activities, but it cuts down on the time it takes for a child to initiate tasks. You can definitely also encourage children to help organize the caddy. So there's a lot of ways. This was just 3 examples of ways to help children develop their executive function. And again, I would encourage you to go on Google, onto Pinterest, and you will see numerous lessons, explicit lessons on how to develop executive function. So let's go on to the next slide and talk about motivators. So as mentioned in previous pre-recorded video lectures, it is important to develop intrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation comes from inside, while extrinsic motivation arises from external factors. When you are intrinsically motivated, you engage in an activity because you enjoy it and get personal satisfaction from doing it. When you are extrinsically motivated, you do something in order to gain an external reward. Consider the way each type considers both motivation and goals. So in intrinsic motivation, you are motivated to do the activity because it is internally rewarding. You choose to do it because it's fun, enjoyable, and satisfying. Your goal comes from within, and the outcomes of your goals satisfy your basic psychological needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Extrinsic motivation. In extrinsic motivation, it's if you look at the slide, so examples of extrinsic motivation are like badges, competition, fear of failure, fear of punishment, gold stars, money, points, rewards, things like dessert if you finish your food. These are all extrinsic motivators. So the goal for when you have extrinsic motivation is focused on an outcome and does not satisfy basic psychological needs. Rather, it involves external gains such as money, fame, power, and avoiding consequences. So you've likely experienced both types of motivation throughout your entire lifespan. And often the goal of your motivation can remain the same regardless of whether the outcome is something internal or external. Intrinsic motivation in the classroom is the ability to complete a skill or activity based on personal interest, achievement, and enjoyment, not for external reward. So personal interest is very important. So it's really important that if you notice that, for example, that a child is really interested in dinosaurs, you can create a display with books and possibly other materials that encourage further exploration into dinosaurs. You can read books about dinosaurs. You can talk about size. Kids can watch a video. Kids can create their own dinosaurs out of boxes and other materials. They can build dinosaurs out of Lego. The ideas are endless. We need to allow the student to work on certain skills and develop these skills. We need to provide choices. Children can be more intrinsically motivated if they have a say in how they are accomplishing a goal. Try not to make any activity a requirement. Offer various choices or let them create their own suggestions of how they can accomplish the goal or complete the task. The power of positive thinking. Having an I can attitude can help tremendously and build up a student's confidence. Another way to motivate intrinsically is cooperative learning. Students may feel more motivated when they can work with other students to help or teach them a skill. Ask questions. Encourage students to think for themselves rather than provide answers to them. For example, when a child is building a dinosaur, you can ask them, which blocks do you think would work best, right? What materials do you need to build your dinosaur? Shoot for your personal best. If the child is struggling with competition, don't compare abilities to others, but rather that each child will improve over time. Teach each child to track their own progress, their own goals, and visually represent improvements over time. So you can have a little chart. Oh, look, before you couldn't do this, now you can. Plan together. Ask the child how they would like to reach a goal. Explain what options are available and help them plan, scaffold them, like Vygotsky would say. Educate the student. When you are working on a certain activity, explain to the child why you are doing that specific activity or learning new material and how it will help them in their everyday life. Teach self-direction and independence. Independence is always the goal. Everyone feels a larger sense of accomplishment when they are able to do something all by themselves. Many children struggle with planning and organizing their materials and their tasks. If you need strategies and methods to help structure, guide, and support student self-direction and independence in the areas of organization, time management, and planning, you can use some sort of checklist. You can create a visual checklist, this first, then this. Do whatever it takes to support the child. That is our work, to support the child where they are at in whatever the areas they need support in. Happy learning this week.